and 208 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. um, I'm looking on Facebook to make sure that I am on, that everything is working okay, and I will tell you the breaking news, the new news. And it has been such a difficult week, right? A difficult week to find out that now William Beaumont Army Medical Center is in on this too, possibly, allegedly, seemingly, and in cahoots, in contract with, um, seemingly, allegedly, possibly, Lydia Rocha and Eddie Rocha, um, and that they know they absolutely have a relationship with the Hart family, the James Hart, Leilani Hart, and Dallas Hart. And we know that Danae Katzen, in relationship to the Rocha family with her mother, Tanya Katzen, connecting all the dots with 3905 Bliss Avenue, right there in El Paso. We know with all of this information that connects them with the defense lawyer, with also Juarez, Mexico, with 3705 Bliss Avenue, that those two, there's several addresses that are up to no good. They are up to no good. And seemingly, looks like it, possibly, allegedly, owned by William Beaumont Army Medical Center, and in these life lease contracts with lots of these members. And it's like uh, to be up to no good and connected with mortuary affairs. Mortuary affairs in charge of handling deceased remains, that they are supposed to be handled with dignity, and and the transportation of remains. Okay, the transportation, that's a big responsibility for mortuary affairs, is the transportation of remains. And the primary way of transportation would be by aircraft. By aircraft. And Dallas Hart learning how to fly. Um, Deborah Sarah West knows how to fly. Deborah Sarah West was teaching Dallas Hart to fly and now denies it. Why? Why is that? Why is there this let me separate myself and totally deny it when we have information from all the bullying, from all the connections that they get in there, and they try to manipulate the narrative of this case. And so I really should do a review of this case in a video, so that I was asked by a Team Find Richard Halliday member to, if I had a review video of Richard's case. And, that is really a lot to ask. And this is not an excuse or anything. That is a lot to ask because there's so many facets in this case. But I think it is important to ask because there needs to be a little summary video that people can share, because yesterday, with the computer, with it being a hack or being some kind of technical problem or whatever it was, if we're unable to spread this information, I think it's very, very important for the people in the United States, specifically Fort Bliss, specifically El Paso, and in that area all the way into New Mexico, and down into Juarez, Mexico, to keep this case alive because it is so convoluted. It's so it's about a criminal enterprise there that has gotten so brazen that not only are they taking advantage of the taxpayers by this weapons smuggling, seemingly looks like it, allegedly, um, this uh, weapons smuggling and also equipment smuggling using tactical move storage units and into Mexico. And let's just throw in some other things in those tactical move storage units, right? Let's throw in some other things. What can you traffic? What can you traffic? What can you traffic back and forth? Let's throw it all in there. And what can you traffic out of a mortuary affairs um, uh, troubled program or institution or office or laboratory or house used for a mortuary affairs or whatever. What can you transport? What can you traffic from out of there? um, and especially when there's this big glaring problem of 85,000 unaccounted for minors, ages what, 10 to 18 primarily. Yes, there is some younger, God help them. But they come over and they're taking advantage of these migrants. They're coaxing these migrants, and then all of a sudden they go missing. They're unaccounted for. No one knows where they're at. I think it seems like a setup again, far worse than the DUI setup, right? Far worse. And you have Ann Ogle with CYS, supposed to be in charge of looking out after their health and welfare, of all the children on Fort Bliss, and 85,000 missing. Yeah, that's very questionable. And you have Thomas Kane's testimony or witness saying there's a lot of problems over there, and Fort Bliss is JAG is working outside of the law, and Richard's case looks like Vanessa Guillen's case, and yeah, and he's very, very close and in business with Ann Ogle, has businesses with Ann Ogle, and she has business with aircraft. I guess it's aircraft that she has business with. Um, and at Park University. And what does Park University have to do with all of this? Because it looks like they're up to no good, right? And then you have the CID covering for them, and of course Thomas Kane being the chief of security of Fort Bliss. Um, and so now we have uh, Richards, and thank you, Anicia, for coming on. I see you, and thank you, Mitzi, and thank you, Anicia, so much. Never giving up. Justice for Richard and the Halliday family. Absolutely. And let's say justice for Fort Bliss. Let's say justice for El Paso. Let's say justice for all that surrounding area and into Mexico and into Juarez and Chihuahua. Because let me tell you, what happened to Richard is happening to so many, being dismembered. Who knows how to dismember? Do they have the right tools in a mortuary affairs? Do they have the right tools in an annex? And why would they have those tools? And why would they have that annex? And who else are they dismembering? I just want to know. This has been the most horrific week. Um, it's like Hell Week all over again. Hell Week, to think of the implications of what we have learned, that, Belen is contacting us at the beginning saying, oh, Richard left. He said he left, right? He said he left, and, he'll come back in the new year. Um, in the new year, came and gone, came and gone. Also, she said that Richard had made CPS complaints about her, okay? And that he had video evidence that he turned in. And so we have been for many, many months asking, years, asking about the CPS complaints and also about these video um, proofs, this evidence. And, there are little whispers going around. Seemingly, it includes the Hart family. Seemingly, probably, maybe, possibly, allegedly, it includes the Hart family. And is that shocking? Is that shocking that CPS complaints would include the Hart family? You know, would that be from the CID notarized criminal complaint? Is that where the CPS complaint came from, or was it from Richard? And, including James Hart as being the one accused. Was Dallas Hart one of those being accused? Was Leilani Hart being one of those accused? Was Belen being one of those accused? And who is letting all of this go un uninvestigated? I don't know. Seemingly, it looks like it uninvestigated, and just rumors going around. But those rumors are scary because Leilani Hart herself has that kind of information that a 7-year-old, her friend's child, that they, and I don't understand how Leilani Hart could leave her friend's children with her husband, her members of her household, when she had made complaints that for years, James Hart was a pedophile perpetrator, a pedophile, yeah, uh, committing incest, y'all. So, and not only that, but that he was dangerous, that he had illegal weapons, and that he didn't seem at all to mind to threaten death with his weapons. So, it's all for him. It's all for him and his lust. He feeds his belly. He feeds, he feeds his belly his lusts, and hell with everybody else. You know, is that, I don't know. Seemingly, this is the narrative coming out. This is a narrative coming out. And, you can't forget that um, Leilani Hart left her friend's children there. What other children is she going to leave in the lion's den, right? Does she organize that? Does she organize that children are left in the lion's den? Because we know they had Hart's childcare, right? They had Hart's childcare. And we know that Leilani Hart seems to do no wrong in the eyes of law enforcement to arrest her, even though she's a convicted criminal, even though she lies to law enforcement, even though she's obstructing Richard's case, even though she's used as you know, uh, a source, really an unreliable source, absolutely a convicted criminal unreliable source. You don't even know her name. Lolanthia, Lalanthia, Ilanthia, Lorian, Lalani. I mean, what's her name? And and an award-winning, beloved in Juarez, Mexico, Angela Kachurga is using her to do harm in Juarez, Mexico. I mean, because that tactical move storage unit, the whispers are it didn't stay in the states. It didn't stay in the states. There's questions that it has to do with Kilometer 29, which they have orphanages right there around, and shelters, children's shelters, and orphanages. There's so many right there. Why do they bring in these orphanages and then bring them into the United States and put them in that um, emergency intake center, and then who knows where they go and what for? I mean, the questions that are so open because of the lack of transparency in any kind of investigation, the lack of arrests, because these accusations that Leilani Hart made are so serious and are felony crimes. So either she has to be arrested for more false reporting to law enforcement, which she doesn't seem to be. She seems to be just, well, I don't know. She's getting into trouble with, what was it? When you hit someone or try to hit someone, or I don't know. Um, it'll come to me. But, she's in trouble. And it's not enough trouble, though. There always seems to be some kind of cover for her. It makes you wonder, does she seemingly, allegedly, maybe, possibly have some kind of uh, videotape or whatever on these law enforcement agents? We know that she had very, very close relationship with Thomas Kane, right? We know that Thomas Kane had a very, very close relationship with students. We know that Thomas Kane had a very close relationship with Ann Ogle, so much so that they even have a business relationship outside of their CYS, DES, Park University jobs. Um, this uh, this criminal, and then they all have something in common. They all belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Okay, they have this in common, and so that gives them resources that so many others don't have, because that area is, that area. Let's just say Romney's dad was born and put together Colonial Juarez. He was one of the founders of Colonial Juarez, and they have done very, very, very well. Fruit sales are very, very, very profitable. And they have then Novo Casas Grandes, right? With the China center in their plaza, the China Plaza, because they also do very, very well with their farming sales. And it goes all the way up into El Paso, into New Mexico, and into El Paso. And here comes Richard. Barely knows the United States, really barely knows the United States, just from Florida a little bit, and comes into the military, is a distinguished honor graduate for his cycle and basic training, and AIT, is so excited, like Asia Graham. When you see that video, I have that video in my burnt into my brain the video of Asia Grant, and of course, the voice of Richard. And they were so excited. They were so excited. They were so young and so excited. And anybody that watched that video of Asia Graham, if you haven't, you need to. Because there's a lot of bad narrative out there. And I think a video speaks 1,000 words. And you could not deny the absolutely beautiful energy coming from Asia Graham in that video of her excitement to serve our country, to do well. To do well. And unfortunately, she was assigned to Fort Bliss. Unfortunately. And was raped. Because some madman, and it could be a mad woman, decided that the barracks need to be co-ed. That these young people full of vim and vigor, mostly men, mostly young men, you have minimum 9 to 1, 9 men to 1 woman, but they find it necessary that they make the barracks co-ed. And then they have a failed sexual assault case, and a sexual harassment case, and another sexual harassment case, and another sexual assault. And they go, I don't understand why we have so many rapes. I don't understand why we have so many sexual harassment cases. That costs American taxpayers money and make the military weaker because of the esprit de corps damage that it does. The damage to esprit de corps is amazing, is so obvious, because they want to have co-ed barracks, which is absolutely insane. And of course, the barracks flush with weapons and also marketplaces for illegal drugs. So let's retaliate against you for being raped. And, just the emotional strain of a young person that was raped, and then the emotional strain. Can you imagine? You're so excited to join the military. Your daddy served honorably. I think he was E8 or E9. I think he was E9. And had passed away. And I hope Nicole doesn't mind me talking about Asia. But she's been on my mind because it just shows you that they don't care, because they really haven't investigated her death properly. They haven't done anything about what happened to her. They named this guy after she had died, and Judge Robert Shook took that case. And I just feel like something's missing, because I don't think that the problem has been solved. They haven't put women in a safer place, right? They still have co-ed barracks. And, so they're not serious about sexual assault. They're not serious. And we know that they're not serious about unregistered weapons, because we knew that there was a weapons problem in 2020. And yet 2023 brings more deaths by unregistered weapons from soldiers. So they're, and then they do a health and welfare check, and what do they find? Dozens of unregistered weapons and ammunition. And they want to give them amnesty or, whatever, because, which they can do. I looked it up. But what does that do? Oh yeah, nothing happens to us if we have unregistered weapons. So they just continue. Just if there's a murder, we have to do a health and welfare check and offer amnesty, you know, uh, and then we can go back to what we were doing until there's another murder, until there's another suicide or suicided, or until there's another um, rape, right? So something is missing here. There is not an oversight. There's not any change that makes any sense. And what it does bring to mind is that what I fear that's happening there at Fort Bliss, a criminal enterprise using taxpayers' money to pay for these weapons and ammunition and equipment, is being, the books are being cooked, and those weapons somehow, maybe with a gunsmith, right, with a gun technician or whatever, it's being shaved off or whatever they do and put into tactical move storage units, and they can take them down. They don't want to be caught, so they have to make sure that all those numbers are kind of uh, messed up, right? Altered, and, take them over to Mexico and sell them and pocket the money. But, that is, I think you can stomach that, because it's just guns. Um, no, you can kind of stomach that, as horrible as it is, and all of this talk by our DC people, that we do have some institutional help right now, but there are some, not all, there are some there that all they want to do is get rid of legal guns, right? They want to get rid of the legal guns. Um, Maybe because they want a monopoly on their illegal guns, because they're not doing anything to do oversight for these unregistered weapons that absolutely, seemingly, allegedly being smuggled over to Mexico. And Mexico is shooting people all the time. There's so many deaths there. Deaths there. That's what I'm saying. If this live, and even if it doesn't, if they don't shut it down, please share anyway, because we're talking about the lives of service members on Fort Bliss. It's also talking about the family members. It's talking about the El Paso community, their quality of life being destroyed, and into New Mexico, the surrounding area, and then into Mexico for a criminal enterprise that has taken advantage of the American taxpayers. Right? And all like, we're the government, we're here to we're here to protect the Constitution. We're the government, we're here as the army to protect you. And it's like, wow, you guys sound like a movie, because you're really here to destroy. And you're destroying our volunteer sons and daughters by using them. They join the military like Asia Graham, like Richard did, and they aspire. Richard wanted to make a career out of it. When my dad went to go visit him after basic training and into AIT, Richard was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to make a career out of this." Right? He was so excited to serve. And Asia Graham also. But once he got to El Paso, once he got under that command, once he got in that area where the AUSAs are compromised. Maybe not all of them, but there is some where they can get away with this criminal cabal, this criminal enterprise there. You know, even deployed. Richard was saying, I don't want anything to do with this. It is so bad. It is so bad. And I've always wondered, why couldn't he tell me more? Well, we know that he made the Child Protective Service complaints, right? We know that he turned in those videos that are sex videos. So, put two and two together. We know that Child Protective Service rather commit a crime by withholding that information from us, that we legally have the right to have transparency and information in our son's case. We absolutely have the right to have that transparency. Even, like when it first started, they wanted to give us all this information, the information they wanted to give us, right? That they controlled the narrative, the false information, they had no problem in telling us, oh, has a lieutenant colonel called you from that unit? They have to call you, and the first sergeant has to call you, and right at the beginning. But then when we started saying, we don't believe you, you might be right, but we don't believe you. We think there's another story in this. Then they started shutting down. Oh, while Richard is under investigation, you cannot have this. This information cannot be released. Wait a minute. 2 days ago, you were releasing it. You released it to information to the press. That was no problem. But now all of a sudden, when we're like, something stinks here. Something stinks. It's not right. Then you shut down. And they shut down. And we've had to investigate now our son's case over 3 years now to get information. And the CPS absolutely has to give us that information in a Freedom of Information Act. And yet, even our senators, even our congressmen, they don't care. They absolutely do not care that we're not getting that information from CPS. That CPS rather break the law than give us that information. And so the rumors, the little birds that talk in your ear that are afraid, they're afraid so much to go anywhere else, right? And say, hey, those CPS, and we got it from Berlin, right? That Richard made these complaints. And it's to CPS. So if you look at what would you complain to about CPS, it is the neglect of a child. And that neglect, we're getting that there was substance abuse. Substance abuse. So the environment, right? So seemingly, apparently, and, the report is about substance abuse. Well, that's interesting because Belen Rocha has a record of substance use, selling, whatever. It's in her record. So, okay, that's interesting. And then to have Belen Rocha connected with James Hart, Leilani Hart, and Dallas Hart, seemingly, apparently, allegedly, in this CPS complaint that includes sex videos, and the accused seemingly, allegedly, apparently, is James Hart. That's shocking because Leilani Hart is saying he's a predator, that he's a child sex predator in her notarized criminal complaint affidavit to the CID that the CID accepted, to the FBI that the FBI accepted. So would somebody catch on that he's a child sex predator and turn that into the CPS and might have some videos to corroborate it, to prove it? I don't know. And what really is scary about this whole thing is the prime suspects are the Hart family in hurting Richard. And you can say, okay, but it was Major General Clem Coward that first put his hammer down, right? Well, no, it was really Boleyn. It was really Boleyn with the DUI. And seemingly, apparently, on the paperwork is Jesus Melendez. Does he know the Hart family? He's a canine. Did, apparently, seemingly, allegedly, Boleyn Roach is the one that called the 911 call in, is the one that accused Richard. But there was also another accuser. And the handwriting is really bad. Like, they didn't want people to know who they were. But we have handwriting tools. We have handwriting experts that can decipher handwriting. We have these amazing tools today. And if this person, which we're trying to corroborate, is who he is, wowzer. Wowzer. So, would the Hart family, if Richard turned in CPS complaints, and we know the IG, right? And the IG, it seems like, looks like, allegedly the IG person that works in the IG with Park University is good friends with Jay Pollan. I mean, they all know each other. They're all there, seemingly, allegedly, in these positions. And there's not a doubt in my mind that Richard was connected to the CID, that he was taking these courses that included with Thomas Kane, that Thomas Kane absolutely knew him, that Ann Ogle absolutely knew him, that the CID absolutely knew him, and that he was a CID intern. Absolutely. And Richard didn't like what he saw. And he said, "It was so bad, Mom. It's so bad. It's so bad. I don't want to make E5. I do not want to go green to gold. I mean, my goodness, going green to gold should be such an honor." And we're wondering how that happened with Dallas Hart. How did that happen? I mean, there is all kinds of history there. And it's not good history. So, this hurts the military, when you have young, aspiring sons and daughters of this country come in, get raped, see things that shouldn't be there, and the barracks are flush with weapons, and there are marketplaces for illegal drugs, and you have these very questionable suicides that people call suicided, right? And where are these remains going? And are they being treated honorably? Are they being treated with integrity? Because it makes me cry to think of Lydia Rocha and Eddie Rocha being part of the mortuary affairs and Amber Chase being part of them. Are these remains being treated with integrity and honor? Or is mortuary affairs up to no good? It needs to be investigated. It needs to be investigated, y'all, because let me tell you, something stinks and is not right. And did they handle Richard's remains? Because we know through the FBI man that they found Richard. They found Richard, meaning his remains. So where did they take his remains? We have these 3 autopsy reports because of the dismemberment, right? Or what were they trying to do? Split them up after they found them? I don't understand what they were trying to do. And we absolutely, as the family of Richard Halliday, have legal rights to this information. Absolutely. And do not tell me that Nadal Baim was making up a story to the cashier that they had found Richard, meaning Richard's remains, because he's dead. He's dead. That means they found his remains. And then she said they were looking in 5 places. He lost me there. That's what she said. He just lost me there. Because they were looking in 5 places. So, if they found his head, they knew he was dead. And they had to look for his leg, and he had to look for his arm, and he had to look for his torso. And, where did these body parts go? Why did they do this to him? Who did this to him? And then we have an officer of the court that comes in and says they're messing with Richard's file. And they're talking about bodily harm. And they're talking about tampering with video. And then Thomas Kane writes and says, Richard is like a Vanessa Guillen. And they're working outside the law. And I absolutely don't want to talk to the family. Why can't the DES talk to the family? Why can't Park University talk to the family? Why can't our FERPA, we're waiting for the FERPA exception, right? Where is that at? It should be expedited. Expedited. Because if it shows, and I can show it then, see, this is what they don't like. They don't like the transparency that woman, that mother, will show the world that Thomas Kane was Richard's professor. They're afraid of that. That mother will show that Richard was reporting child sex abuse and making porn videos with children. They're afraid of that. that mother will show that that Richard was code-reded. Let's just say it that way. That mother. How are we going to get more soldiers in? How are we going to get more sons and daughters in so that we can abuse them and use them? Use their social security numbers, steal their identity, steal their aspirations, retaliate against them and laugh at them and harass them and, ruin their lives. We want more volunteer sons and daughters of this country that we can ruin, that we can have suicided, that we can, have their legs blown off in these unjust wars and this, people don't understand this, but they're training our young soldiers, and I looked this up, in these Afghanistan villages, right, on Fort Bliss. Village warfare is not permitted by God. It's not permitted. It's against just war theory. You don't go into these villages and start these wars. What the heck are we doing? And, if I don't even need to give examples of why we can't do that, because we have so many examples of why not to do it, because we have decades of failures and our sons and daughters being maimed and killed and nothing to show for it except for some few that get these big military contracts. And we're sick of it. It's been exposed. For me, it's been exposed. In my opinion, for me, it's been exposed. And it gets worse and worse, because it's not enough that they do this to our volunteer sons and daughters. And, and they compromise them. Do you think that Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz started out compromised? I saw it with my own eyes when it came to even Brigadier General David Stewart. He came to Fort Bliss excited. He came to our meeting ready to help. He was uninformed. They didn't inform him. They didn't brief him. I'm telling you, they did not brief him. And he was ready to help because he was a new general. He wanted to save the day. And he came to our rallies. And he really took the time to listen. And he made that media video with us, right? And in front of our eyes, over the years, they just sucked the soul out of him. That last meeting, I'll never forget. He acted as an enemy of Team Fine Richard Halliday. He had become an enemy of Team Fine Richard Halliday. You know what that means? An enemy against the Vanessa Guillen First Absent Soldier. An enemy of parents saying, something is wrong here. And we don't buy your narrative. Tell us the truth. And he was an enemy of that. And if they had one thing against us, one statement against us, we would have a cease and desist. We would have someone at our door. But we were nothing but ever gracious to them and begging them to give us the canines, to tell us the truth, to tell them, look, we don't care about whatever our son did, right? Because they always tried to say, oh, your son did something horrible. And we're like, we don't care. Why do you care so much? Why do you care so much? When Richard is missing, first find him. Well, now we know why. Because they're implicated in the unjust code red retaliation against Richard that escalated into his murder. That's why. And they knew it because they had found his body. And they knew that it was an unjust retaliation, severe, continuous, severe retaliation, the most severe kind of retaliation, because they knew and were keeping it a secret from us. Or I shouldn't say keeping it a secret, but they were not pointing it out to us. Instead, they were deceiving us with this DUI thing, because Richard had already been dismissed. He already had been in that agreement to be dismissed. That's what a pretrial diversion is, an agreement to dismiss. It is a guaranteed dismissal. And that happened on July 7th, 2020. And so all of that retaliation that was founded, absolutely founded, on that DUI, now had no foundation at all. None. And what were they going to do? Give Richard back his 3 ranks? Give him back his 50% of his pay for a couple months? Give him back, his dignity? Who knows what happened to him during those times? I mean, you have absolutely a mad sex cult going on Fort Bliss. You make him the lowest rank in the barracks where they're raping people. Were you going to give him back his 45 days? Apologize for making him wear the full body armor during that time? I mean, what were they going to do? Well, they called Eddie Rocha, I guess, at the mortuary affairs and says, get ready. You got a job coming your way. I don't know. But that as a parent that is not getting the, where's Major General Eisenhower? Where's Major General James Eisenhower? Right? Where is Veronica Escobar? Where is Angela Kucherga? Where is that dirty general, Sean Bernabe? He's so dirty, you can't get near him. He'll pollute everything. He's polluting Fort Cavazos right now. Fort Hood. Like Fort Hood really needed to be more polluted. And look at dirty, but not her nails. Her nails are nice and long and red and whatever. Lieutenant General Donna Martin. She's the Inspector General of the Army. Don't forget, She was CID, the CID general over Vanessa Guillen's case. And of course, the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier, Richard Halliday. Red nails and all. And conducted the stage task force firing Richard Halliday without any op ward. And making sure that the CID on Fort Bliss is communicating to the MPs, Anthony Swafford, that Richard has a bad character. I know his character. How do you know his character? Do you know Richard Halliday? Oh, no, but we were told what his character is. Really? Really? That he was Distinguished Honor Graduate for basic training in AIT? I'm sure they didn't mention that. That he was Combat Lifesaver? I'm sure they didn't offer that information. That he had earned 3 AAMs in 14 months? I'm sure they didn't offer that information. That he had excellent PT scores? I'm sure they didn't offer that information. That he was guidon bearer? I'm sure Anthony Swafford didn't know that either. But dirty Lieutenant General Donna Martin with the red nails made sure that Richard was smeared. Made sure that Richard was smeared to the law enforcement community. Seemingly, allegedly, she was there if the shoe fits, because she has the power. She was in the meeting with us. She knows Richard's character because we told her and we gave her a whole picture demonstration of his life. She knows his record. She knows that he has never committed a crime, that his name has never showed up on the federal criminal database. But that didn't bother her to smear the Vanessa Guillen first absent soldier, who had been continuously and severely retaliated against for months because of a set-up DUI that was declared by Alma Trejo, the judge, to have no evidence to back it up, and there was a dismissal agreement on July 7th, 2020, before Richard ever went missing. But that didn't stop the Inspector General of the Army, that's so dirty, bloody dirty, to smear Richard, to make it happen, and to conduct a task force find Richard Halliday without an operational order and no uniform on. No uniform on, and sit in the middle of the room, Indian style, on a chair with red nails. Well, I don't know if she had red nails then, but she has red nails in that picture. This is not an army. These are the arms of a criminal enterprise being used to secure their profits, to secure their ugly demon deeds. And if William Beaumont is in on this because their property is 3905 Bliss Avenue and 3705 Bliss Avenue, and that is connected to the mortuary affairs, and what's going on? And who's transporting? What planes are transporting? Is it the Cessna 550 that we have the tail number for? Or is it these certain pilots, Deborah Sarah West? Maybe her brother Matthew? I mean, we need answers. And that's why this brave, brave, brave soldier, Fort Bliss, active duty soldier, and thank you so much for signing his petition. The last time I looked, it was 322. It really hasn't moved. Hasn't moved in days. This brave soldier, who we don't know, but he contacted us lately to let us know that Veltri is a dirty agent. He let us know that Veltri is a dirty agent. He warned us now. And you know what? We were like, yeah, we already know. Because she hasn't visited the crime scene. She hasn't visited the crime scene unless she was on the case early on. That we have been deceived and she's always been there. Because we believe that we were told that Jessica Veltri came in on this case in May of 2023. And since then, she has not visited the crime scene. Has she conducted interviews with the Hart family, with Thomas Kane, with Ann Ogle, with the people that are there at 2905 Bliss Avenue, at the Van Buren houses, at 3705 Bliss Avenue? What about Dirty Agent Marlon Soto? What about Dirty Agent Tavita Nusa, who, claimed bodily harm? I wish I could say more on that one. Wow. It is, I hope I'm doing a good review here of this case. And it is just touching the edges. Because we haven't even gone into the AG. We haven't even gone into the DA. We haven't even gone into the other case, the connection with these properties and these people with the other big case, and with the defense attorney, right, that's connected. And that they're up to no good. I mean, it's so bad. And Richard was right. It's so bad, Mom. It's so bad. And he absolutely, in the last video, feared for his life. For good reason. With leaders like this, who needs enemies? And that's why Leilani Hart is being investigated. That's why Marlon Soto is being investigated. That's why Judge Robert Lee Shook was moved out of there after, he had definitely made plans to stay there. But he was moved out of there. That's why Jeff Downey is no longer there on the FBI. That's why Major General Clem Coward is gone. He was there for years, y'all. He personally knew Leilani Hart. And where is Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick? And Jay Paulin moved out. But for somehow, some way, Command Sergeant Major Jerry Jakovitz landed the cushy job at the VA with James Hart. With James Hart. And that VA, that is such, that position that James Hart has over the the Medical Health Board for veterans and active duty uh, disability benefits is a very, very powerful position, and it needs to be scrutinized constantly because you can bribe people and manipulate people so easily with their disability benefits. Where is the oversight? And, seemingly um, he's being reported. Well, not even seemingly. He was reported as a predator, pedophile, and incestuous father. Where is the transparency with us with that? Because his son was Richard's his son. Oh man. Was Richard's platoon leader. It's hard to get that out. It's all connected. They don't want me to say it. These witches. But absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind that paperwork was manipulated. Books were cooked. And Dallas Hart was Richard's platoon leader. And part of this complaint, part of the complaints that Richard made, because then that makes sense. There was a vendetta. And Leilani Hart knows Clem Coward personally. And the whole weapon smuggling, absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind that they all know each other. And Danae coming to us like that, y'all, Tanya Katzen, what's going on? That she would send her daughter. They send their young daughters to the front line. It's really, it's so unbelievable. It's so unbelievable. And that's why I have to repeat it. And people are saying, wow, I had a person tell me this. Wow, you're still there saying this. And it's silence over there. You must be over the target. So, and I'm just thinking, I'm here in South Carolina. I'm thinking, what if there's, shootings in 2023 because of unregistered weapons that come from the barracks? And there's all these unregistered weapons in the barracks. And, there's still all the drugs. There's still all this, a 14-year-old girl living in the barracks, right? Being pimped out. There's still all this nonsense going on. There's still all this, I don't know what it takes. How many deaths does it take? It's like death is regular for them. And this is not war deaths. We're talking about right there on the installation. We're talking right there in the El Paso community. So it's like, yeah, this is our intention. This is our war plan. So who are they working for? Who are these leaders working for? Because they're not working for the American people. That's very clear. It's very clear. Because if they were working for the American people, they would honor their obligation to care for our soldiers, our young sons and our young daughters. And they would have them squared away, and they know how to do it. But I think they're working for an enemy and that they're sabotaging our military. That's what I think. Or these oligarchs or these business people that want this big buck life or whatever are willing to sacrifice our military and our country for their business plan. And that their business plan, their hopes and their dreams, maybe it's some kind of aircraft business. Maybe it's some kind of high altitude balloon business that, keep the satellites going around, right? Because now we know that satellites are high altitude balloons, right? We know that now because of the Chinese balloon. So, it's like, okay, you want to fund this. We know from the CIA that the CIA felt like they weren't getting enough funding. I mean, it's laughable because they have so much funding, but it's never enough. Their belly is never full enough. And they have to run, we know this from Congress this last week, that they're running a narcotics ring to fund the CID on the side. Like a little side job. I think Jesse Waters reported it, right? It's like, okay. So are they, some people run, the CIA, one organization is running the narcotics ring, and then the other organization, they get together and they decide, okay, we'll do the human trafficking to support our little pet projects. And, you can do the body parts for your little pet projects, and I'm going to do the weapon smuggling for my pet projects. And we'll make a monopoly. Each one will have its little monopoly, and we'll just, destroy our country. I mean, I don't know. Is that going on? Because I'm not getting loyalty and respect and duty and selfless service and honor and integrity and personal courage in my investigation that I'm doing. I'm getting quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. It looks pretty criminal to me. And it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. There is no end to their 85,000 unaccounted for minors. There is no end to their failed projects, right? There's no end to their failed wars. And they like it. They keep it going. They're not sending their sons and daughters. I need to I just hope that y'all share. And, if we need to save our country, we need to save our sons and daughters, we need to save, our communities. And we need your help. The only thing besides the stars in their courses, right? That fought against Sisera and our prayers, um, and please God, have mercy on us. Have mercy on us. Yep. The stones will cry out the truth. And, the only thing besides that is Him giving us the power to have courage to stand up to this peacefully. You know, um, so our son, our eldest son, it's like, has there ever been a peaceful settlement? I said, well, I think William and Mary. I think William and Mary. Maybe we should read a little William and Mary. There has to be a way to stop the killing, to bring in things that are good and true and noble and praiseworthy. There has to be a way. And I just think there's enough people out there that want the same thing. I think they do. I think they're sick and tired of this small group, because I do believe it's a small group. It seems so big because they have someone in HRC that gives them the positions. That needs to be scrutinized. Who gave Dallas Hart his position? Who gave James Hart his position? Who gave Thomas Kane his position? Who gave Ann Ogle her position? Who gave the IG there on Fort Bliss their position, right? Who gave Marlon Soto his position? And on and on. Because, they definitely know each other. Who gave Major General Clem Coward his position? They are established on Fort Bliss. They are established in El Paso. They are established in Mexico, in Chihuahua, Mexico. They are established. They've got a system. It's a circuit. And it's a criminal circuit. Who gave Major General Eisenhower his position? And Sean Bernabe his position, and and on, right? And really it's not that many, if I can name them off like this, because there's so many more people on Fort Bliss that want Fort Bliss to be exactly that, bliss. And they know there's no peace there right now. So, criminals, absolute criminals. And they yeah. So we need to have oversight, and there has to be a way to do this peacefully, and to do it the right way, and to do it through the legal system. And we're getting that. We're getting some support. I think it's starting to happen, but I think it really depends on the people. The people sharing. 40,000 shares. 2,000 signatures on this. Brave soldiers. petition to support him. I think that's what it's going to take. I think it's the demand of the people and the waking up of the people and saying, okay, these generals, these people, we need some accountability. And thank God we're in Texas, where these kind of crimes can get the death penalty, because these are so serious. They've caused so much harm and so much death. So, yeah. Um, and I've asked, what are our legal rights to arrest these people? Do we have legal rights to arrest these people? These perpetrators, these enemies of our country. And anyway, thank you so much. I'm going to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much, Patty, Anicia, Mitzi, Danielle, Grace. Thank you. Thank you, No Mass. Is terrifying. He has that much power. Oh, yeah. And I think she's talking about James Hart there at the health board. I mean, it's a lot of power, and, needs the oversight, because, you know, um, I'm 100% disabled, I'm 100% disabled, I'm 100% disabled, I'm 100% disabled because I was coached by James Hart. That's what Leilani was saying was happening. You turn favors. He's not coaching them for nothing. And that's not me saying it. That's Leilani. That's Leilani and her complaints. So, and much more. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on, and God bless you. And please share. And if you haven't signed the petition yet, please sign the petition, and don't stop there. Get others to sign that petition. It's so important. We have 322 signatures. That's a great start. Let's make it 2,000. And I just think that would be send a huge message to these dirty generals that think no one's looking, and and to Dirty Agent Veltri, Jessica Veltri, who he's like, she's a dirty agent. Watch out, she's a dirty agent. And he said more, and so I think he needs a lot of protection. And so that means that people need to say, oh, yeah, I know about him. I'm shining a light on him. We're going to protect him. Because look what they did to Richard. And they absolutely did do it to Richard. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.